Well, hello there. Welcome back with another video with Linksi. I hope you're having a lovely day, and today we're gonna jump into a topic which is mother causing me so much headache. It's just absolutely fucking crazy. So, the eternal discussion of archers are so broken. Archers are so OP. Jeez. Rick and Morty reference. Well, yes. If I wasn't to walk up to you and try to stab you with a stick, and I was walking up to you, you just shoot me, I wouldn't get a chance to stab you with a stick. Simple logic. Now, you want it balanced in a game, in a video game, to create quote-unquote more realistic battles? What? It's a fantasy game where there are monsters and magic and just things coming out of the ground and zombies and just really bad smelling fish that's used as a mount, and also a skeleton that has lived for thousands of years, and hail Cetra the imperishable, oh mighty Cetra, king of Nahakar. I will not go do that again. If you don't know what I'm referring to, check out one of my last live streams. But yeah, so today we're gonna have a pretty generic army down there. You can see it for high elves. I've matched it pretty much. It's a 1000 gold more expensive than the other army which we're about to face, but realistically, if you're playing campaign, and again, this is for campaign, not for multiplayer, this does not work. No. When you're playing campaign, this works. It's efficient, it's effective, it's min-maxing. And why does it work? Well, number of reasons. One we just mentioned, which is if I shoot you before you can hit me with your sword or stick or whatever you have, I don't get hurt and I can keep fighting and I can keep shooting. It's a very simple concept which was shown by the British very effectively in the Battle of Wignacourt against the French, where Henry V decimated dozens of French noble houses to the ground and finally put an end to them. With the British peasants shooting longbows? Well, let's go with the High Elves. The High Elves were smart. They don't ride cavalry, or some of them do, or some of them ride dragons, which are big pincushions. I digress. They've learned how to shoot a bow very well. And we're going to be facing against an army of the Empire, very generic army, which we'll go over in a second. But first, I want to go over how the army is laid out, and we're going to jump into that, and we're going to have a discussion about that. Another major thing that I noticed that people complain about is that I don't, for example, personally, set up my army like this, maybe like this, and like this, do this, and then do that. And just click, let's go fight the battle. Why don't I do this? Well, this is, for a number of reasons, highly ineffective. I have two lines and they're very tightly packed together. Magic in this game would be able to decimate me completely and utterly really quickly. As you can see, any one of the spell, especially a Burning Head right now, would shoot through these basic archers which have no armor whatsoever to speak of. 15 armor is not much. That said, if any unit was to crash into the flanks, I have nothing to protect them, and I have nothing to protect my more expensive units here at the back, the Sisters of Avalorn, which are going to be my primary damage dealers, and of course my eagle ball throwers. Another thing is that people seem to get upset that number of people like me, other people like me, that do not deploy in the middle of the map. Why would I? There are map borders. I'm going to use those map borders, especially if I am fighting 6 armies in one turn. I want my army to be healthy enough to fight the next army. This is making sure you have enough to get through the next part. When you auto yourself a battle, you'll probably lose the battle after that, even though your army should be strong enough. Why? Because you were lazy, quote unquote. And this happens to me very often, and it's normal, it's absolutely fine, and it sucks. But that said, how would I deploy? This is map border, so I would deploy my beautiful eagle bolt throwers there. I would deploy my thin line of Sisters of Avalorn. Sisters of Avalorn have less units than normal archers, in this case 10, but they have very few units compared with other generic units. Then I put 2 lines of archers in the front. Now, the archers, I try not to stretch them out as much as possible, and I make them into a box formation, and there is a reason for it. Now, this is where I start spreading out my units. I do so simply by making sure the famous checkerboard formation that Legend has popularized, and there is a reason to this checkerboard formation. Now, I have discussed this in a previous video, and I will discuss it again. The checkerboard formation works in a very simple concept, which is that if you have a unit being attacked, the other units can still shoot. And to make this work, I am just simply going to work a little bit and wiggle out my units, making them more effective, etc. The more space you have, the better. Keep in mind, while doing this, you need to be very highly aware about a number of things. Mainly, that your archers are, of course, limited range. In the case of the High Elves, 180 range allows you to have much wider checkerboard formation and leave a bit more gaps. However, you will need some heroes in the front, and in this case we have 2 flying heroes, the General Alariel and Noble, and then of course I have the Handmaiden of the Evergreen down here. If you're playing campaign, having the Handmaiden and of course having someone like Alariel, even though any other general would help a lot, these archers will be much stronger than they are here. They will have more ammunition, fire faster, fire better, and do more damage. So this will have limited effect in terms of the army. Another reason, one of the many reasons that you want to fight close to the edge, is that you want the enemy units to get off the battlefield as fast as possible. There is a reason for this. You do not have an infinite ammunition. If you do not have infinite ammunition, well, unless you're playing with Altarian, you want the enemy to run away and not come back, right? Now, I am going to put this in slow motion while those guys set up, and I'm going to look at the enemy's army. The enemy's army, I gave him what many would call a varied army composition. They have a couple of units of Empire Knights. I gave them some Reiksguard over there as well, as you can see. They have a Flame Wizard on horse. They have a General of the Empire on horse. They have handgunners and great swords and halberdiers. This would be considered an elite army according to my lore wise friends, as there are some really high tier units such as the great swords and halberdiers, whereas usually there would be more spearmen and basic infantry that are just thrown by the Empire to hold the forces of evil, even though in this case they're fighting potentially an ally. The AI tends to organize itself in a line before charging forward, and if you have superiority with artillery, they tend to attack you. If you're in the assault, of course, if they are assaulting, they will attack you anyway. If they feel they have superior artillery power, they tend to stay back, and that is where you can waste your ammunition. But that is a discussion for another time to be had. Right now, we're going to wait for them to set up, and once they set up, they generally start marching towards us. In this case, they're taking their sweet time. If they do set up and not march towards you, all you need to do is just cast a spell on them, but in this case, I'm pretty confident they're gonna charge at us. Now, the first and biggest issue that you want to deal with is the cavalry. You want to deal with the cavalry because they are the ones that can seriously do damage to your archers, as they, well, you know, they can reach and cover that gap that we spoke about earlier. But to do so, a simple strategy of coming in close and casting a spell on top of these guys will, or even just attracting them like that. In this case, I'm just casting a simple spell there, even if it doesn't do that much damage. I'm hoping it will, and it will attract the enemy towards me. It did literally no damage. Yep, that was a really bad cast from my end. Did it kill someone? Not entirely, no. But it did make the cavalry come and get triggered faster. That was a decent dodge from my end. And he's sending his cavalry in first. Now, if he sends his cavalry in first, we're gonna make sure that we protect our flanks. When you see their cavalry coming into your side, you want to aim at them. And as you're gonna see now that this army, which is of pretty decent value, we're talking, I think, to hire this in a custom battle, I think it's 25,000 gold, and that is 25,000 gold. They're going to have very similar results. The only thing that I did was I got in the cavalry to come in first, and the cavalry, as you can see, is going to get slaughtered, even though they did hit the front line, and this is what I was talking about. They came, They were about to engage, but I did not want them to come back. Now, of course, these guys were focused down because, simply put, they were on their own, but if they weren't, they would have come back, such as the Empire Knights over on this side. They're getting shot at, they will take damage, they will take a lot of damage, that is absolutely normal, but they will succeed. Now, this is what I was talking about. This Empire Knight cavalry is only hitting one unit. If it hits more than that, it would neutralize more archers and stop more archers from firing. These guys can set themselves up again. They lost a few. That whole unit over there is running away, and voila. Now, what we need to be careful of is not to lose our general to their what you call them, handgunners. Handgunners will do a lot of damage, and we need to be careful of that. But as you can see, we are doing incredible damage to their army, and they have barely even gotten to our front lines. We did lose a few archers here and there, but keep in mind, archers are really cheap units. And as you can see, actually, the Sisters of Avalon are the ones that are doing most of the damage in this case. The archers are firing in at the AI as it charges in, which, if you were to do it out there in the open, they would have surrounded us. They would have sent the Reichsguard to our flanks, and we had no way of dealing with the Reichsguard. Use the terrain to your advantage. Now, agreed, this is a video game, there are limits to what the AI can do, and I'm sure you guys agree with me on this. And that said, do not feel that it is unfair what you're doing, it is simply just an AI. Heal that, and let's cast some magic. Magic is going to be important, but actually, no, we're just going to support our troops, we're not going to cast any more magic. And we're actually going to just engage, just to show you the efficiency of this army and how powerful it can be. As you can see, it is doing a lot of damage. See, a burning hat by the AI in our unit damaged 2 units, but not anymore. Why? Well, that's because our units are really split apart. They're casting a lot of magic, they're doing a lot of damage to us, but we're dealing with them. Another thing to note is that they will not have all of this magic usually in the campaign. It's very rare that you get the AI that's managed to have their agents survive long enough to have Flamestorm. That said, that Flamestorm was very well put, 198 kills by that Fire Mage. As we say this, the enemy's army is in tatters. They have pretty much broken 3 units of ours, whereas we have mostly wiped out all of what he has left. I am trying not to use as much magic as possible, just of course based on the fact that we are trying to show how powerful the archers are. And even this is just shows that minimal micro is needed, whereas if you fight out in the open, you're going to need a lot more micro. You're going to need to be very much more situationally aware about what is happening, where you need to go, and who or what you need to be targeting. Kill the guy that's giving us a lot of pain, and at the same time, army losses should come in any second now. That guy should pretty much be broken, and army losses came in. Let's see the results. The results is we've lost around 500 men, actually even less, 400 men, while they lost pretty much their entire army. As you can see, we didn't use our heroes, and we went simply with most basic unit that we can get. Now again, some people will say they are broken. That is not the case. If they were fighting against an entire army of huntsmen, it would have been a much bigger challenge, and the Sisters of Avalon themselves would have had problems, because the huntsmen can shoot while moving, and they can move in stock, so it makes a big difference. The mage from the enemy is something I would normally target or slow down with my own mages, and the cavalry I would use that of Amentok to stop them before they hit my front lines. In the campaign, of course, my archers would be also doing twice, 3 times the amount of damage, so it would also make a big difference in that regard. The artillery didn't do much, but I put them in anyway to show that it's a decent army to have. You don't need to have a spam of Sisters of Avalon to win. Of course, on legendary campaign difficulty, you're gonna need them, because the AI will be much tougher to kill, much tougher to break. That said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was an experiment of sorts, a discussion of why archers beat melee infantry, and that is simply before they got to our lines. As you saw very clearly, most of their army was dead. The main damage we got to our lines was through a few units which aren't even destroyed, through magic, and that's it. All of their infantry collectively got 3 kills. Their handgunners got a decent amount of kills and a decent amount of damage, and their cavalry got around 93 kills. Actually 93 kills, I just made maths. So as you can see, it is very effective to use archers. Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely day. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care and goodbye.